That saying that leaders are born is a complete lie. Leadership isn't something you're born with. It's built quietly, daily, and long before anyone's watching. What is going on, YouTube, and welcome back to another video. My name is Bryce Dettorre, and in today's video I'm going to be taking you through a day in the life of someone who is trying to build leadership in all areas of his life, including being a husband, being a father, being a special education teacher, and then being someone who just enjoys fitness. So sit back and enjoy a day in the life. So before I try to lead anybody else in my day, whether that be my students, my child, my family, I like to journal. It's something I recently just started doing. Not very good at it, but that's one of the things that being a leader entails, is doing things that you're not good at. I am, however, enjoying it. Keeping it very simple. I always list out my top 3 goals for the day. I do an affirmation, 3 things I'm grateful for, and then there's always a prompt on the journal. So it says, what can you do each day to focus on improving yourself? So that's what I write about. Once I'm done with that, then I will dive into scripture, read the Bible, and read personal development book. I sometimes do it at my desk, or sometimes I do it actually out on my treadmill walking. And the reason why is because I have read in multiple books this quote that says, leaders are readers. Now, not all readers are leaders, but every leader is a reader. When I read that, again, that just kind of goes to show that leaders aren't born. You could become a leader. You could learn how to lead. And as long as you could read, technically you could learn how to lead. So that's what a lot of the books that I read on. And especially if you're a father or a husband. If you're a father, you're leading your home, your children. If you're a husband, that at some points you are leading your wife. And the only way that I feel that you can learn leadership is, one, stepping into that role. But when you step in that role, you should have some knowledge. You may not have experience, especially if it's your first leadership role, but you should have knowledge of what makes a good leader and how leaders lead. And from my experience, the only way you get that is either listening to podcasts about leadership, watching videos, or my favorite one is reading. So if you're a husband or a father watching this, I would encourage you to start reading. Make it a staple of your morning routine. Because I'm going to be honest with you, if you can't control your morning before anybody else is awake and before you go to work, you're going to struggle to lead anything else. Because if you can't lead yourself in a productive way that's going to improve you in your life, you can't lead anything else. One of the few places that you can test your leadership every single morning is right here. No applause, no crowd, just a choice that you make with yourself. Show up or don't. And I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of days out of the 5 or 6 days a week that I train. I would probably say 2 of those days, maybe even 1, I'm actually excited to come out here and train. The other 5 or 4 days, I'm going to be honest with you, not really feeling it. But leaders don't do what they feel like doing. They do what needs to be done. And I have a goal. I'm trying to drop 20 pounds in 20 weeks before my son is here. And that is my goal. So I got to focus on my goal and set an example. So that once my son is here, he knows the standard that we have in the Dettorre home. All right, so today's training session was a push-pull conditioning piece. So obviously got my warm-up in. Once I was done with my warm-up, I jumped into 4 sets of 8 on incline bench. The goal was to find a weight
that is about a 7 or 8 on RPE, and then maintain that for 8 reps. So I got up to 185. And then second exercise was gonna be a T-bar row. Again, 4 sets of 8, trying to find a weight that again is the same concept as the first exercise, RPE 8, and then be able to maintain that for about 8 reps. What that means is 8 reps is kind of difficult. I don't know if I'd be able to do 9, and I definitely wouldn't be able to do 10. So since this is a 20-week workout program, the goal for the first week or 2 is to kind of figure out what my weights are. I've never done a 20-week program, but obviously my son's gonna be here in 20 weeks. So I'm doing a 20-week program with the idea of having different cycles throughout that 20 weeks. So like I said, for these first 2 weeks, I'm really trying to feel out where my current strength is. And then by week 3 or 4, that's when I should have the dialed in actual weights for each exercise. So second exercise, like I said, T-bar row, 4 sets of 8, 60-second rest in between. And then third exercise, I did dumbbell bench, 3 sets of 8. Again, trying to increase to find that RPE of 8 for 10 reps. Fourth exercise, I did lat pull downs for 3 sets of 10 to 12. This is kind of more of hypertrophy focused rather than strength. And then my fifth and final set was a superset. So I did dumbbell reverse flies, 3 sets of 15, and then I did 3 sets of 15 on chest fly using a cable machine. Chest flies are something I struggle with, so that is another reason why I incorporated them. Again, just trying to figure out the weight. Once that was done, that was technically the strength / hypertrophy part of the workout. And then I always have, well, not always, but about 3 times a week, I'll do a conditioning piece at the end of the workout. So today's conditioning piece was a 12-minute EMOM. I did 12, so as soon as you start the timer, when it hits minute 1, you do 12 calories on the ski erg. As soon as that is done, then on minute 2, so you set a timer, on minute 2, I did 12 calories on the rower, and then on minute 3, I did 12 burpees. So the idea is you want to get through it fast, but then you should have about 15, maybe 10 seconds rest in between. Now the goal was to maintain 12 on each exercise. However, one of the qualities of a leader is to not have an ego and then obviously remain humble. So once I got about, I think to the 4th round through, I was not able to maintain the 12 calories because I was running out of time. So I made a quick adjustment, pivot, whatever you want to call it, and then I did it with 10 calories on the ski erg, 10 calories on the rower, and then 10 burpees. And I was able to do that, I think, on the last 2 rounds. So again, this is my first week in this 20-week program. Now in that 20 weeks, I am gonna compete in Deca mile doubles, so I'll have a partner for that, and that's in about, I think, 6 weeks. And then I think a month after that, I'm gonna be competing in the Deca Fit in Anaheim, also as a double. So I'm training with the goal of, over the next 20 weeks, like I said, improve strength, lean out, get rid of some fluff, increase my speed, my mile time, my 5K time, and then hopefully PR at the Deca Fit in Anaheim since I did it last year. So my workouts, like I said, it's geared towards that. So I'm having 3 pieces of conditioning and really focusing on my running to improve my cardio for the Deca Fit and the Deca Mile. Since it's my first week, obviously I have big ambitions. So I set the goal of 12 calories on the ski erg, 12 calories on the rower, and then 12 burpees. I thought my conditioning was up to par. However, it is not, which is fine, but you gotta make an adjustment. So you have 2 decisions while you're doing it. One, which it initially happened with me, I stopped and I was like, fudge, I can't do this. And then I had about 4 minutes left, 4 or 5 minutes left. So I was like, I'm missing out on 4 or 5 minutes. So what's better, just stop and just cut it, or to make an adjustment, lower the calories, and then finish the workout. So now I made a note, next week when I come in, I'll do the same workout, but I'll do 10 calories. And I'll try to maintain that with a good amount of rest in between. Once that gets easy, say it's week 3 or 4 or even 5, then I will come in and I'll do 11 calories. So it's very important that you track your workouts with any program you do. because you could progressively overload. So all my weight that I added or kept track of on my exercises and my strength portion, the goal is to increase by 5 pounds each week. Again, you may be like, well, that's not that much weight. Over 20 weeks, that's a lot of weight, especially between each exercise. So you're progressively overloading over that 20 weeks. If you have any questions or anything about this, I am launching a school community as of January 1st, where I'm going to offer basically 3 different tiers. If you go to the website, you could actually see them: standard, premium, and then VIP, with the intent of helping you guys, whether you're training for a HYROX, a DECA, a Spartan race, or even technically just like a 5K or like a mile, improve your mile time. I'll have all that in the actual community. So anyways, it's about 6:47. This is usually the time I end. So now I'm gonna go in, shower, drink my post-workout shake, which all it is just a scoop of protein, a multivitamin. I'll shower, brush my teeth, do my hair, and then head to work, and then I'll actually have my first meal. One thing you need to know about leadership is that no matter what your role is, someone is always watching. I think it's funny when people will say like, oh, I don't have leadership qualities, or I'm not a leader. And I'll ask them like, do you have kids? And if they're like, yeah, and I'm like, okay, well then you're not a very good leader, or 2, you don't realize that as soon as you become a parent, you are a leader. Whether you like it or not, someone is always watching you. Your kid is always watching you. And if you don't see yourself as a leader, you're not going to take that role serious. You're not going to be intentional about it. See, the thing is when it comes to being a parent, your child is looking for someone to lead them. And if you are not aware, or you don't see yourself as a leadership, you're not going to fill that role for them. But you know who is going to fill that role for them? Society. Famous people. The Kardashians. They are going to, it is in human nature to look for someone to lead them. If you go all the way back, biblical times, Adam was looking at God. Noah was looking at God. People were looking at David to lead. They were looking at Solomon to lead. They were always looking for someone to lead. And your child, as soon as they come into this world, they are also looking for a leader. So I'm telling you right now, if you are someone who has said that before, like, oh, I'm not a leader, or I don't have leadership qualities, ask yourself, do you have a child? If your answer is yes, then you're a leader, whether you like it or not, and you are leading someone. Or, like I said, maybe you aren't leading them. Maybe you haven't filled that void for them, so now they are unfortunately filling it with someone else. Maybe someone that you don't want to lead your child. So just be aware that, like I said, everything you do, everything you say, how you treat people, how you act with people, how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, your child is always watching, and they are going to follow your lead, whether you like it or not. So as a special education teacher, leadership looks a little different when I'm in the classroom. It's patience, consistency, and believing in students when they don't believe in themselves yet. So like I talked about in my last video, belief or their BS is something that from day one I can identify whether they have a positive belief system, meaning they believe in themselves, or they have a negative BS system, which means they have no belief in themselves. They don't think they could do anything. They have a very fixed mindset instead of a growth mindset of where like they are willing to learn, and they realize that their current situation is like not their final destination, if that makes sense. So we're in the final days of the first semester. So Friday will be first semester. So we got basically 3 days until first semester is done. One thing I like to do at the end of a quarter and at the end of the semester is I'll ask myself, I'll reflect. One of the things I've learned when it comes to leadership is you have to be able to reflect, look yourself in the mirror, see where you have done well and where you need to improve. So 2 of the questions I always ask myself at the end of the semester and the end of the quarter is, what are some things I did really well when it comes to teaching? And then what is something that I can improve on next semester? So reflecting back on this semester, one of the things I did really well, I feel like I did a really good job of building relationships with my students. I know all my students obviously by first name. I know what they like. I know what they dislike. I know what they like to do on the weekends. I know what their family situation looks like. I know what kind of food they like. That's something we always talk about in my class. So I do a really good job of building rapport with most of my students. Again, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I am. There's always going to be one or two, maybe even three students that even I'm just not able to connect with. And that's one of the hardest parts about being a teacher probably. And then one area where I'd like to improve on second semester is assessing students. That's something where I feel like I could improve on, is finding their current situation or their level, like reading level, their writing level, their comprehension level, seeing where they're at, especially being a special education teacher. They're all at different levels. Some of them are at second grade, some of them are at fifth grade, some of them are even at eighth grade. So differentiating that learning is something that I've always struggled with and something that I would like to improve on. So my goal for next semester is to start off strong, assess the students from day one, because most of them will probably be the same, but I may get new students that come in. So assess the students from day one, figure out where they currently are, and then build basically a 5-month plan until the year is up on how to monitor their progress and then hopefully achieve their goal at the end of the year. And that's one of the things you got to do as a leader. You got to lead whoever it is you're in charge of. So in this situation, I guess you could say I'm in charge of students in my class, and I want to lead them to obviously improvement and then achieving their goals at the end of the day. And then hopefully helping them with different mindsets and stuff of what they can achieve in the real world when they get out of school and they're no longer my responsibility. That's why I love teaching.
This is the most important leadership role I'll ever have: husband and father. It is very important as a father that you make time for your kids. Even if you wake up early in the morning, even if you have to work all day, even if you have stuff to do around the house, having time with them and managing your time so that you are able to spend time with them is one of the key, is very important when it comes to being a father. My daughter is learning what leadership looks like from me, how I handle pressure, how I talk to her mom, how I deal with stress around the house. She's not listening to what I say. She's watching what I do. And look at this good hairstyle that she gave me. This is something that she just recently, I look bald right here. When I look bald right there. This is something that she just recently started doing, and I absolutely love it. I think she's going to be a barber one day. We shall see. So one of the things I like to do to make sure that I have a successful day is actually prep the night before. So after we eat dinner, after we watch our shows and have our family time, when Cassie starts to do her nightly routine with Adeline, that's usually when I'll actually prep my breakfast. So lately, since I've been trying to cut, my breakfast, my post-workout meal is 4 eggs, 200 grams of egg whites, and then I'll basically get all my meals ready for the next day at night. And then I will go lay out my gym clothes, lay out my work clothes, make sure my backpack's all prepped, and just basically start the night before. Because like I've said, I don't believe that leaders are built. I think they're born. I think in order to lead, you have to make sure that you have good routines, morning routines, nightly routines, family routines, workout routines, nutrition routines, and create systems that allow your life to basically function and in an orderly way, and then also at the same time get you closer to whatever goal you're trying to achieve. So I'd be curious to see like what kind of routines you guys have that you feel help you basically become a leader as a husband, as a father, and then whatever role you have in your job. But that's pretty much a day in the life of, like I said, a husband, father, special education teacher, someone who's trying to lose 20 pounds, someone who's trying to get into better shape to compete in the DECA Fit, DECA Mile, and basically over the next 20 weeks, trying to become the best father. It's like almost like fatherhood 2.0, since obviously I already have a daughter, but now I'm going to have a little man running around the house, which I'm super excited for. And then also in the next couple weeks, Cassie and I will be moving. We finally got a house. We're super excited about that. It's a bigger house, a lot more room, a lot more opportunities to grow as a family, renovate. I mean, we're very excited for it. Very blessed. We both said we have a lot to be thankful for right now, a lot to be thankful for. So just attitude of gratitude, thank the man upstairs, and then just keep having faith that everything's going to work out. So I would appreciate it if this video helped you in any way. I would greatly appreciate it if you liked it, commented on it, shared the video with someone who maybe is a father or someone who needs to step up in leadership roles. I would greatly appreciate that because I am trying to grow this channel and it costs you guys nothing, but it helps me out tremendously and I would really appreciate it. And like I said, be on the lookout for January 1st. My school community is already live. If you would like to join this school community, the link is in the description below. You're more than welcome to join basically the free trial right now. But on January 1st, I will launch it with the tiers. So if you are interested in any type of coaching or just joining a community of like-minded fathers who are all trying to level up, make sure you be on the lookout for that. And then you guys already know the motto: stay happy, stay healthy, and above all, don't be average. I will catch you guys in the next one.